This story pops up on my feed, and it's just one in a long list. And I think about this for myself as well. Uzbekistan. Military personnel assigned to an outpost in Uzbekistan are rapidly developing deadly cancers. Okay? And here's a map of Uzbekistan if you're listening. And what I did was I overlaid some toxic green sludge over the map of Uzbekistan because that's what they're saying it was like over there. So lawmakers are investigating the cancer diagnoses of veterans of toxic Uzbekistan base. This is we're probably going to blow past 7 minutes on this one. This is one of many cases of exposure injuries that veterans are facing. Okay, and I've had those sheets in my medical record, those exposure to toxic elements, letters that you get in your record. I'll tell you guys a couple personal stories about that here in a minute. But let me hang on really quick. I'm going to fix something really quick. I'm going to get back to the story. I don't want to be distracting you guys. So this article is originally from military.com. I'm referencing it off task and purpose. A House committee, so the House of Representatives, is investigating cancer diagnoses in more than 400 veterans who served in Uzbekistan after the September 11th, 2001 terrorist attacks. 400? That's not a coincidence. That's not chance. Young people don't get cancer. 400 who served in the same place don't get cancer unless there's a common factor. The House Oversight and Reform National Security Subcommittee plans to hold a hearing on November 18th. So that's in a few days, and I'll cover this again on the show because this one is important to me, to determine whether the Department of Veterans Affairs and Defense are taking the health concerns of these former service members seriously. Jeez. Americans who served out there are facing devastating health conditions, and they're looking for answers, and the government owes them answers, according to Chairman Stephen Lynch from Massachusetts. A bipartisan committee has found clear evidence that K2 veterans were exposed to toxic and environmental hazards, yet the VA has refused to provide the full range of treatments and benefits these veterans deserve. I remain committed to advocating on behalf of our K2 heroes and look forward to hearing the VA and DOD's plans to right this injustice, Lynch said. So this Uzbeki base was a former Soviet base, the Karshi Khanabad, or K2. It was used as a logistics installation to support operations in Afghanistan from 2001 to 2005. So 2001, it's not like they put a lot of site survey and OSHA survey thought into where people were going. It was just go time. People went overseas in response to 9/11 immediately. Service members who were stationed there described the conditions as black gunk that oozed up through the floorboards of their barracks and fine dust that settled on surface areas. Hundreds of veterans who were assigned there have been diagnosed with various types of cancer, including brain, colon, and thyroid. Kim Brooks, her husband was Army Lieutenant Colonel Tim Brooks, and he died of brain cancer at age 34 in 2004. Testified before a committee earlier this year that families deserve to know what substances their service members were exposed to and that veterans or their survivors should qualify for VA benefits. You think? Do you think people should qualify for VA benefits if you sent them somewhere and exposed them to this and they get deadly cancers? She said, I'm here to ask, to plead really, that you do everything in your power to ensure that other K2 veterans and families receive the medical and financial support that they deserve. The controversy surrounding K2 contamination and suffering veterans was first reported in December 2019. DoD documents obtained by the news organization stated that the grounds of the base, also known as Camp Stronghold Freedom, were contaminated with missile propellant, solvents, fuels, lubricants, trace amounts of chemical weapons, and depleted uranium. Depleted uranium. Do you think that's cancer causing? The runoff ponds at the installation were bright green. A color so unnatural, people there called it Skittles. VA officials said on April 22nd that the department is taking steps to address the concerns of service members and veterans who were assigned to the base, including a study to research health trends among them. Yeah, well, 400 cancer diagnoses is quite the trend. You don't need to be a researcher to see that one. The hearing is scheduled for 10 a.m. on November 18th, so what I'm going to do is mark that in my calendar, and maybe I can cover that live. Maybe that hearing will be live. You know how you can go watch like C-SPAN? Maybe that'll be live and I'll cover it. Now look, here's the deal for my own anecdotal stories, which I'd like to sprinkle in when I can. Afghanistan, 2009. Myself, many others serving at the prison over there, all got letters in our records that we were exposed to harmful substances. There were these doors that were locked, up in the facility we were working in. And the scuttlebutt was that behind those doors were barrels of depleted uranium and plutonium and all kinds of radioactive substances. Okay? All kinds of weird substances. And I have that record in my medical records, in my service records. When I was working as a helicopter mechanic, we used to have this sealant, this like goo, putty, and you would put it around seams on a helicopter, and it would prevent water intrusion and sand and dirt and dust intrusion to help with corrosion. Now, the way I was taught was you rub it on, but it's sticky. It sticks to your finger. So lick your finger, spit on your finger, lick your finger, and then use it to smooth it out and it won't stick, and then lick your finger again. So I'm sure I've ingested this stuff. We used to have a joke because on the MSDS, the material safety data sheet, it had, all the signs, all the symbols for what kind of hazard it was. And one of them looked like a hand coming out of the ground, like a hand coming out of a grave. And I used to go around joking like, look at this one. This one will raise you from the dead. This one's so dangerous, it'll raise you from the dead. In Iraq, burn pits. Afghanistan, burn pits everywhere. Okay? Exposed to burn pits. When I was working as a junior young airman, my first job in the Navy, fueling jets, I got sprayed in the face with fuel on multiple occasions. And I know how safe they say it is, but working on an aircraft carrier, right around a nuclear reactor, I'm not honestly worried about that, but it's just another thing. So it's horrible that you would have to fight for acknowledgement that exposure to those kinds of things could cause these kinds of problems. That's upsetting. That is exactly in line with the type of stuff that the VA needs to fix. So I promise I'll follow up on this story. November 18th, there's going to be a hearing on it, and we're going to cover that and see if we can provide more information on what's going on with this, I'm sure, multi-service personnel who served at K2 in Uzbekistan, who are now facing serious health consequences from that deployment.